Good morning, class. In our previous lesson, we already discussed the different operations on the set of integers. Now that you already know how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide integers, we are going to move on with our next lesson, which is all about the properties of operations. At the end of this lesson, I hope you are going to illustrate the different properties of operations on the set of integers. What are the different properties of operations? Let us start with the closure property. So what is the closure property all about? So please take note that these properties are only applicable to addition and multiplication. So ginagamit lang po ang mga properties na ito sa operations na addition and multiplication. Hindi po kabilang ang subtraction and division. So ano po yung tinatawag nating closure property? So closure property states that for any integers a and b, a plus b is an integer. This is closed for addition since the addends are integers, so the sum is also an integer. So the same goes with multiplication. Kapag given po tayo ng dalawang integers, let's say si a at si b, a times b, ang sagot po ay integer pa din. So this is closed under multiplication since the factors are integers, therefore the product will also be an integer. So para po mas maintindihan, ito po yung ating mga examples. Let's say you have an integer 7 and another integer 12. Kapag inad po natin si 7 at si 12, ang sagot po ay 19. Si 19 po ay isa ring integer. So meaning to say integer plus integer will give you a sum of integer. For example, number 2, negative 15 plus 12, parehas po ulit silang integers. Pag inad po natin sila, ang sagot po will also be an integer which is negative 3. So, ganun din po ang multiplication. Positive 5 times positive 9 is 45. Negative 3 times 8 is negative 24. So, kung gagamit po tayo ng factors or numbers na kapag pinag-multiply ay integer, ang magiging sagot po ay integer pa din. Hindi po pwedeng ang maging sagot ay animal o kaya po ay prutas. So, integer po plus integer or integer times integer will also be an integer. So, para po madali nating matandaan, ang closure property po ay nangangahulugang palaging integer ang sagot. Okay? For the second property, we have what we call the commutative property. So, ano naman po ang nilalaman ng commutative property? Commutative property states that for any integers, kapag given po ulit tayo ng dalawang integers, a and b, kapag daw po ini-add natin sila, a plus b equals b plus a. The order of the addends will not affect the sum. So, ano pong ginawa natin dito? Pinagbaligtad lang po natin si a plus b, ginawa nating b plus a. So, for example po, 6 plus negative 2 will be equal to negative 2 plus 6. So, this is commutative property of addition. Meaning to say, kapag binaligtad po natin yung kanilang pwesto, 6 plus negative 2 is 4. Pag pinagpalit po natin, negative 2 plus 6 will give you 4 also. Hindi po maaapektuhan ang sagot kahit pagbaligtarin natin sila ng posisyon. Another example, negative 8 plus negative 3, kapag binaligtad po yan, equals negative 3 plus negative 8. So, ang answer po ay negative 11 pa rin. So, again, commutative property of addition. Nagpapalit po ng pwesto, pero hindi nagpapalit ang sagot. For multiplication naman po, commutative property of multiplication, ganun din po, a times b will be equal to b times a. The order of the factors will not affect the product. For example po, 7 times negative 5. Kapag binaligtad po natin yan, magiging negative 5 times 7. Pero ang answer po, kahit baligtarin, ay negative 35. Example number 2, 10 times 6. Pag binaligtad po natin yung pwesto nitong dalawa, magiging 6 times 10. Pero ang answer po ay parehong 60. So, yun po ang tinatawag nating commutative property for addition and for multiplication. So, ano po yung dapat nating tandaan sa commutative property? Nagpapalit ng pwesto. yung given, pero hindi nagbabago ang ating sagot. And now, the third property is what we call the associative property. What is associative property all about? So ito naman po ay nangangahulugan if we are given three integers, let's say A, B, and C. A plus B, mapapansin nyo po, naka-parenthesis po sila, meaning to say naka-group sila, plus C. Equals, sa kabila naman po, nagpalit po yung magkagrupo. Naging B at C ang magkagroup, and then plus A. So ano po ang ibig sabihin nito? Different groupings of addends will not affect the sum. Kahit daw po pagpalitin natin yung magkakagrupo, hindi magbabago ang sagot. Ganon din po sa multiplication. In our first example here, si A times B po ang naka-parenthesis, meaning to say sila po ang magkagrupo, and then times C. That would be equal to, uunahin daw po ang B times C, tapos times A. Ang different groupings of factors will not affect the product. So para po mas maunawaan, ito po yung ating example. For example number 1, given po tayo ng 3, 7, and negative 4. Dito po sa left side natin, magka-group po si 3 and 7. Sa kabila naman po, ang naging magka-group si 7 plus negative 4. So let us check kung hindi po magbabago ang answer. So in here, di ba po sa PEMDAS, inuuna natin yung parenthesis. So 3 plus 7 is 10. Kinopya lang po natin yung plus negative 4. Equals, sa kabila naman po, kinopya lang natin yung 3. Plus, and then 7 plus negative 4 is positive 3. And then finally, 10 plus negative 4 is 6. And that would be equal to 3 plus 3, which is also 6. So as you can see, nagpalit po ng groupings dito si 3 plus 7 muna. Dito si 7 plus negative 4 naman, pero yung answer po natin ay hindi nagbabago. For example, number 2, you have negative 2 plus 8 plus 5. In the left side, ang magka-group po is negative 2 plus 8. And in the right side, ang magka-group naman po is 8 and 5. If you are going to simplify the left side, negative 2 plus 8 is positive 6. Kinopya lang po natin yung plus 5. Equals, sa right side naman po, kinopya lang natin si negative 2. And then we add 8 plus 5 since sila po yung naka-parenthesis, kaya sila yung unahin. And that is 13. And if you are going to simplify this, 6 plus 5 is 11. Negative 2 plus 13 is also 11. So parehas pa rin po yung ating sum, kahit nagpalit po ng ka-group. Same goes with multiplication. So in multiplication po, dapat po mauuna naman po dito si 4 times 5. Dito po, meron po ditong braces. So si 4 times 5 po muna yung magkagrupo and then times 7. Followed by 4 times negative 4 times 5 times 7. So dito po, lalagyan po natin ng bracket. Yan. So meaning to say, si 4 and 5 po muna yung magkagrupo dito. And then saka po itatimes sa 7. In the other side po, ito po yung braces natin. Ang magkagrupo muna ay si 5 and 7. Saka i-multiply kay 4. So let us check po kung parehas pa rin po yung sagot na lalabas. So in here po, 4 times 5 is 20. And then we just copy 7. And 20 times 7 is 140. How about the right side po? Kinopy lang po natin si 4. And then 5 times 7 is 35. And when you multiply 35 and 4, that is also 140. So the product remains the same. For example, number 2 naman po, lagyan po natin sino po ang magka-group. So dito po sa una, magka-group po si negative 2 and positive 6. So pag multiply po natin itong dalawa, you will get negative 12. And then kinopy lang po natin si negative 4. Equal, sa kabila naman po, papalitan po natin negative 2 and 6. Dito naman po ang magka-group ay si 6 at si negative 4. So you have to copy negative 2 and then 6 times negative 4 is negative 24. Kapag multiply po natin si negative 12 and negative 4, that is equal to 48. Equals the other side, negative 2 times negative 24 is also 48. So that is the meaning of associative property for addition and for multiplication also. So ano po yung dapat nating tandaan sa property na ito? Nagpapalit po ng kagrupo, pero hindi pa rin magbabago ang sagot. Okay? And for the next property, we have what we call the identity property. Ano naman po yung identity property? So, identity property of addition at multiplication pa rin po. So, unahin po natin yung sa addition. So, sa addition po, if you have an integer a and then you add 0, the answer is the same. A pa rin po. Hindi po magbabago yung given number. That's why identity. Hindi magbabago yung kanyang pagkakakilanlan. So, any number, lahat daw po ng number plus 0, ang sagot pa rin will always be equal to the given number. So, for example po, si 15. Mag-add po tayo ng 0. So, ang sagot pa rin po ay yung number na 15. Another example, 0 plus negative 8. So, si negative 8 po, dagdagan natin ng 0, having no value. So, ang sagot, negative 8 pa rin po. So, 0 is what we call the identity element of addition. So, again, that is called the identity element of addition. Ano naman po ang identity element of multiplication? Saan naman po natin i-multiply ang isang number para hindi magbago ang kanyang value? Okay? So, that is 1. The identity element of multiplication is 1. Diba po? Lahat ng number, let's say A, i-multiply natin siya kay 1, ang sagot ay A pa rin. So, the product of any number, kahit anong number multiplied by 1, the answer will always be equal to the given number. For example, si 32, i-times natin siya sa 1. So, ang sagot pa rin ay 32. Si negative 15, i-multiply natin siya kay 1. So, ang sagot pa rin is negative 15. So, again, this is the identity property of addition and identity property of multiplication. So, ano po yung ating dapat tandaan sa identity property? Hindi magbabago ang value ng given na number. Again, for addition, we have 0, and for multiplication, we have 1. Ayun po ang tinatawag nating mga identity elements. And for the next property, we have what we call the inverse property. Ano naman po yung tinatawag nating inverse? From the word inverse, sa Tagalog po, kabaligtaran. So, let's start with the additive or the inverse property of addition. So, ang nilalaman naman po nito, si A plus, idagdag po natin yung kanyang inverse, kabaligtaran, negative A. In other words, the opposite. Pag inad daw po natin silang dalawa, the answer will be 0. So, that means the opposite of the given integer is called its additive inverse. And the sum of a number in its additive inverse is 0. For example po, si 10 ay positive. Ano po ang kanyang kabaligtaran? Ang opposite ng positive 10 is negative 10. Kapag daw po ini-add natin si positive 10 plus negative 10, ang sagot po ay 0. Kasi sila pong dalawa ay magka-opposite. Another example po, si negative 2. Si 2 po ay negative. Ano naman po ang opposite niya? Positive 2. So, negative 2 plus positive 2 will equal to 0 pa din po. So, ito po ang tinatawag nating additive inverse property. Ang sagot naman po dito ay 0. Kanina po, ini-add natin yung 0 sa identity. Dito, 0 naman po ang magiging sagot. How about the multiplicative inverse property? Sa multiplication naman po ito. So, the reciprocal, the keyword here is the reciprocal of the given integer is called its multiplicative inverse. The product of a number and its multiplicative inverse is 1. For example po, given tayo ng 3. Ano po ang reciprocal ng 3? Di ba po si 3 ay whole number? So, meron po siyang denominator na over 1. So, pag po kinuha natin ang reciprocal ni 3 over 1, that is 1 over 3. At kapag minultiply daw po natin silang dalawa, that will be equal to 1. Paano po nangyari yon? Di ba po, pag nagmumultiply tayo ng fraction, numerator to numerator, so 3 times 1, that would be 3. And then yung ilalim naman po, denominator to denominator, 1 times 3, that will be also equal to 3. And what is 3 over 3? That is 1. Kaya po, ang 3 times 1/3 is equal to 1. Again, that is called the reciprocal. Okay? For example, number 2 naman po, you have negative 5. Since wala din po siyang denominator, may over 1 din po siya. So, kapag ginawa rin po natin yung kagaya ng sa example number 1, numerator times numerator, 5 times 1 is 5 over denominator times denominator. You have 1 times 5 is also 5. And take note that they are both negative. So in multiplying integers, negative times negative will give you a positive product. So positive na po ito. And 5 over 5 is equal to 1. So ayan po ang nilalaman ng multiplicative inverse property. Kailangan po natin kunin ang reciprocal to have a product of 1. Sa additive inverse naman po, we get the opposite of the number. So ano po ang kailangan nating tandaan sa inverse property? Sa additive inverse po, you have the opposite. At sa multiplicative inverse po, we use the reciprocal. Okay, and for the next property, we have what we call the zero property and the distributive property. So ano naman po ang nilalaman ng zero property? This is a special property for multiplication of integers. So zero property states that for any integer a times 0 will be 0. Ibig sabihin po, any number multiplied by 0 is equal to 0. Lahat daw po ng number na i-multiply sa 0, ang sagot po ay 0. For example, negative 98, minultiply po natin sa 0. That is definitely 0. Another example, 0 times negative 12, that is also equal to 0. And that's the zero property of multiplication. And for the last property, we have what we call the distributive property of multiplication over addition. So from the word distributive po, from the word distribute, sa Tagalog po ay ating ipinamamahagi or ipinamimigay. So ano po ang nilalaman ng distributive property? Let's say you are given 3 integers, A, B, and C. And for example, si A po ay nandito sa labas, and then si B at si C ay i-add natin, B plus C. And then naka-parenthesis po sila, meaning to say naka-group po silang dalawa. Kapag daw po ginawa nating A times the quantity of B plus C, equal daw po yun kapag i-multiply natin si A sa bawat isang nasa loob. So A times B is AB, and then A times C is AC. So, adding first before multiplying or distributing the factor to each other will give the same result. So, ano po ang ibig sabihin noon? Kapag daw po inad natin itong B plus C, saka natin i-multiply kay A, equal daw po yun kapag si A ay i-multiply natin isa-isa kay B at C at saka sila i-add. So, para po mas malinawan, ito po yung ating example. For example, you have 6 times 4 plus 8. Diba po sa PEMDAS, mauuna ang nasa parenthesis. So, 4 plus 8 is 12. And then, kinopy lang po yung 6. And then, 6 times 12 is 72. Kapag daw po ginamit natin yung distributive property, ibig sabihin po nun, si 6, yung nasa labas ng parenthesis, ay imumultiply po natin isa-isa dun sa nasa loob. So, in this case, mauuna po yung 6 times 4. Ito po yon. Kopya lang po yung plus. And then, yung pangalawa naman po, 6 times 8. Ito naman po yon. Okay? Parehas lang daw po ang sagot na makukuha. So, let's check. So, what is 6 times 4? That is 24. Plus 6 times 8, that is 48. And if you add 24 and 48, that is also equal to 72. So, as we can see, 72 is equal to 72. So, kahit daw po anong gawin natin, i-add muna, saka i-multiply, o kaya po, i-multiply isa-isa kay 6, parehas daw po ang sagot na lalabas. So, that is the meaning of distributive property. So, another example, ito po. Negative 5 po yung ating integer sa labas. And then, you have quantity of negative 3 plus 10. Kapag i-distribute po natin yan, sa negative 5 po, i-multiply muna natin kay negative 3. So, ito po yon. Negative 5 times negative 3. And then, kinopy lang po natin yung plus. And then, kanina pa po i-multiply sa negative 5. You have negative 5 times 10. Ito po yung 10, napalayo. Okay, at kapag po atin siyang isinove, negative 5 times negative 3 is positive 15. Negative 5 times 10 is negative 50. And if we add 15 and negative 50, the answer is negative 35. So, dito naman po tayo sa left side. Negative 3 plus 10 is 7. And then, kinopya lang po yung negative 5. And if we multiply negative 5 and 7, that is also equal to negative 35. So, parehas lang po sila ng answer. And that is the distributive property of multiplication over addition. So, ano po yung dapat nating tandaan sa zero property? Laging zero ang sagot. So, lahat ng number na i-multiply sa zero ay zero. Kay distributive property naman po, in Tagalog, ipinamamahagi or ipinamimigay. Sino po yung ipinamamahagi? Yung number na nasa labas. Kanino po siya i-multiply? Isa-isa po sa bawat number na nasa loob. And that's it. Those are the different properties of operations on the set of integers. I hope you understand something about this lesson. Kung may mga katanungan po, magbasa lang po ng magbasa sa module. Sagutan din po ang mga learning tasks na matatagpuan sa module. At kung may dagdag katanungan po, mag-message lang po sa teacher, sa Messenger, or through Google Classroom. So I hope you like this lesson. Thank you for listening. Keep safe, everyone, and may God bless us all.